When I first found out there was a 1v1 fighting game based on JoJo's Bizarre Adventure for the PS3, it immediately became my game collecting white whale. Every flea market or used game store I went to, I looked for JoJo's All-Star Battle in vain, until eventually it was announced the game would be delisted. I thought all hope to play my dream JoJo game was lost. To my surprise, a re-release of the game was announced for modern consoles with enhanced features and visuals, as well as an expanded roster of characters. With the popularity of JoJo exploding stateside, I was excited to see how much the game could grow now that US audiences have a familiarity with what a stand is. I'm happy to say that developer CyberConnect 2 delivered an amazing fighting game system with tons of character and attention to detail. But like many people feared, the online, arguably the most important aspect of a modern fighting game, severely cripples a game that has such enormous potential. Unlike its predecessor, Eyes of Heaven, All-Star Battle R is a much more traditional fighting game, especially for anime licensed game standards. CyberConnect 2 is known for their work on the Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm series, which is extremely accessible and lets you do cool stuff effortlessly. All-Star Battle R does have an auto combo mechanic to ease in new players who might just be trying the game over a friend's house, and the game does a great job of inviting you to explore its complexities. It doesn't take much experience to master a basic combo, and there aren't dozens of command normals or special moves to overwhelm you. When you dig into the combat system, you'll find tons of fun opportunities for flashy combos, including guard cancels and the stand rush ability, which allows your stand to finish certain special moves while you move around freely. New to All-Star Battle R is the addition of assists, which can be used offensively or defensively to break up a combo. Besides the barrage assists, which are obvious combo extenders, I struggled to find much use for assists and didn't have a desire to experiment to find their utility. It just seems like assists aren't as helpful in a 3D fighter compared to something 2D like Marvel vs. Capcom or Dragon Ball FighterZ. As for what's unique in All-Star Battle, there's the Stylus dodge mechanic, which by pressing back at the right time, causes your character to sidestep an attack. For me, this mechanic usually came out by accident, and is frustrating since there's not much risk for mistiming a parry. And keep in mind, these are just general mechanics that virtually all characters share. Characters are grouped into different categories like stand users, vampires, Hamon users, mode users, and sometimes even a mix of two. For example, Hamon users can charge their meter and use EX versions of their special moves, but Pillarmen can activate their modes, sacrificing meter gain for extra damage. For a series that's been going on as long as JoJo's has, characters that were written at the series' inception feel so foreign compared to where the manga is now, and seeing how a matchup between Jonathan Joestar and Josuke from Part 8 shapes up is really fun. Pro fighting game players have already brought up playing the game competitively, and it seems like that's where CC2's sights are aimed for. There's enough depth here to grow a community and a competitive scene, which feels almost unreal for an anime licensed game. In terms of modes, the primary single-player mode is All-Star Battle mode. Essentially, there are a series of independent battles from across each of JoJo's 8 parts. Some canon, others interesting what-ifs. Sometimes they'll have certain conditions, like the round timer is shorter, where a character always starts in a specific powered-up state. There are secret missions that unlock cosmetics in the in-game store. You can use the currency you earn in battle to reveal these secret missions, or purchase power-ups that make things easier. Honestly, I enjoy this mode more than most people seem to. A lot of people were upset that the standard story mode from the original All-Star Battle didn't return, but in my opinion, the story of JoJo can't be represented by a bunch of disparate battles with text explaining what happens in between them. I think having the canon battles along with the what-ifs ties into the idea that this is a celebration of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. You also get to see some of the unique dialogue shared by characters you wouldn't think had anything to do with each other. And speaking of fun dialogue, that's just one of the many callbacks this game makes to the source material. One thing I loved about Eyes of Heaven is how many little idiosyncrasies of these characters were carried over from the manga. The only problem with that game was that none of these fun callbacks were explained in-game. Thankfully, the move list does a great job of explaining character gimmicks. For a character like Joseph Joestar, there are a bunch of moves to keep track of, but they all serve as some kind of callback, including my personal favorite, There's also a lot of attention to detail in the cosmetics. Many are carryovers from Eyes of Heaven, like Ugly Iggy or Backpose Dio. Some of the outfits are from one-off promotional art, which is fun if you follow as many JoJo Twitter art pages as I do. CC2 seems to be releasing tints as a reward for completing online challenges, so it'll be interesting to see what they bring out to entice players. Now, as for the online, while I've never had issues finding matches in other fighting games, I had a really hard time finding players in JoJo's. Matches I did find were laggy, and if I'm being honest, it was such a hassle to find one that it really discouraged me from finding competition to improve. The good news is that CC2 seems committed to updating the game post-launch. There have already been free updates announced to tie in with the Stone Ocean anime, and a season of DLC is already in the works. Many are hoping the poor netcode is addressed in a future patch, the same way Dragon Ball FighterZ will be given rollback netcode. I'm worried without this patch, All-Star Battle R will just be remembered for its abundance of wasted potential. And ultimately, that's where this game lands for me. It's a big question mark. Its legacy will be completely determined by the improvements made to online play. There's such a great foundation that it'd be a shame for All-Star Battle R to go down as just another abandoned anime fighting game. Unfortunately, in 2022, a game can't be sustained with just offline play alone. That being said, you'd be hard-pressed to find a more stylish way to experience the expansive JoJo's saga in video game form. If you have some dedicated friends to play this game locally or over short distances, it is a must-have for JoJo fans.